it looks like all of our panelists or all of our participants are here today. So thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. All right. Hi, my name is Diane Alfaro, and I am a Santa Cruz YIMBY lead. Thank you for joining us tonight for this District 3 Supervisorial Forum. We will be asking questions related to affordable housing or just housing in general, and how we would like to shape our community in the future, since that is something that YIMBY is very passionate about. I would like to remind you that folks will be able to vote for our endorsement starting next week. And we will also be hosting an event tomorrow for our happy hours for housers during Affordable Housing Month in celebration of that. So please join us if you can, including those on our panel today, our supervisory candidates. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the questions that we have prepared. And if time allows, we'll try to do some additional questions. Okay, so I'm just going to do this based on random choice. And I'm going to start with Ms. Chen Mills to answer the first question, followed by Dr. Cummings. And then, yes, Ms. Contari Johnson.
Hi, Diana. I was wondering if we get to start with an opening statement, or are we going to go straight to questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do an opening statement. I apologize for that. And then you have 3 minutes for that, and then we'll go ahead with the questions. I apologize. So we'll start with Ms. Chen Mills, then Dr. Cummings, and end with Ms. Contari Johnson. Okay.
Should I start?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to this forum. I'm excited to engage in the dialogue with all of you, to both share my ideas and also to learn from you, although I won't hear too much from you, but by your questions, I've already been learning quite a lot. I've lived in Santa Cruz for about 30 years. I'm a mother. I have 2 teenagers here. Of course, I started as a renter and sort of worked my way up to finally being able to own a house. I could not have done that without family support, and that was in 1998, when my house was $270,000. I understand that the housing crisis is just at ridiculous proportions at this time. When I first came here, in terms of my background, I was a journalist. I started as a journalist with one of the local papers and did investigative journalism and environmental journalism. And I won a couple of awards from the California Newspapers Publishers Association for that work. I'm the author of 3 nonfiction books, 2 of which involved a deep, deep amount of research. And I worked for Santa Clara County for about 6 or 7 years in the Department of Alcohol and Drug Services, working throughout the county in the jails, juvenile hall, work furlough programs, health and human services, directly with clients and also with staff across the county, working on efficiency, teamwork, and mental innate resiliency. After that, I started a national nonprofit called the Center for Sustainable Change. I did all the fundraising for that nonprofit and worked across the country in communities of so many differing and varied sorts. And that involved fundraising, project tracking, oversight tracking, oversight reporting. And I've got 10 seconds, so I'm just going to say thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings.
Thank you, and thank you all for having me. My name is Justin Cummings. I'm a renter environmental scientist with a bachelor's in biology and a PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology from UCSC, 20 years of experience working in the field of environmental science. I'm an educator, a fluent Spanish speaker, and a member of local UAW 5810. I've also created a number of nonprofits here in Santa Cruz focused on increasing diversity in the field of environmental conservation and also in tech around drones used for good. In 2019, I ran for city council after helping to get the rent control measure put on the ballot because, like me, there are many people in our community, working professionals, who are being pushed out or into homelessness and are struggling with affording housing. These are small business owners, teachers, service industry workers, students, counselors, city and county workers, and we need a government that's going to protect all of its citizens, especially working class and low-income people. I currently serve on the city council. I've served as vice mayor in 2019 and was mayor of Santa Cruz in 2020, one of the most challenging years in our recent lived history. As mayor, I helped our community as we navigated COVID-19, social unrest after the murder of George Floyd, and the CZU fires. We also stood up more homeless services during my year as mayor than ever before in the history of the city of Santa Cruz. I've approved over 400 units of affordable housing since being on the council, worked to increase our affordable inclusionary housing percentage from 15 to 20%, and continue to fight to increase the amount of affordable housing and Section 8 deed restricted housing in new developments, which has been consistently opposed by our council majority. This year, as I conclude my term on Santa Cruz City Council, I've decided to run for the seat of 3rd District County Supervisor. I believe that we need progressive leaders who are going to take progressive approaches to address the many issues our community faces around housing. I hope to continue to push for workforce housing and affordable housing, create workforce development programs to help young people get into good jobs that will allow them to live in our community, work with communities to bring forward effective solutions to homelessness. And I'll just mention that as someone who does not come from intergenerational wealth, my focus is in ensuring that the housing we create does not result in further gentrification. And we need to not only have housing, but programs that help working class and lower income people have access to permanent housing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kalantari Johnson.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks for holding this public forum. And thank you and the members of Santa Cruz YIMBY for the work that you do in advocating for housing in our community. I'm running because I'm committed to building an inclusive and thriving Santa Cruz County. And it's been a journey to get here. I'm from Iran and moved to the United States at the age of 8. Immigrating, watching my parents start from scratch, learning a new language and culture shaped who I am, as is the case for all of us in our early experiences. And it set me on my path. My life and work experience as an immigrant and a woman of color and a mom, and my work in the public health professional is what motivates me to serve and to step up and run for supervisor. I have a bachelor's in psychology and French and a master's in social work. I've been working in the field of public health and social services for over 2 decades, dedicating my life and career to generating solutions for some of the most complex issues here in our community. And these issues are intertwined with housing, substance use, mental health, healthcare, homelessness, immigration rights, juvenile justice reform, childcare. They're all connected. I've worked on these issues through cross-sector collaboration, public, private, nonprofit, and partnerships throughout our county with every jurisdiction in our county. My work has resulted in healthy food on families' tables, keeping youth away from harmful substances, helping unhoused youth get off the streets and into housing, and ensuring families have access to healthcare. Recently, I've used my personal and professional experience to move forward equitable policies on the Santa Cruz City Council. I'm the only candidate that has 100% yes voting record for housing. I've worked on investing in our youth through increased resources. I've advanced climate action goals, and I've pushed for a services-oriented approach to homelessness. The services that we had during COVID were mandated by the state and were done in conjunction with the county. Our city hasn't stepped up in this way in decades. The last couple of years have been really difficult, and they've opened up our eyes to the growing challenges we have around homelessness, housing, and climate change. I go into the supervisor. Sorry, I wasn't watching the chat. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our questions, and we have 2 minutes apiece for each question. And try to do the best you can. We're not going to ask you to solve world peace in 2 minutes, but maybe we'll ask that. We will. Okay, so starting with Dr. Cummings. Parking minimums increase housing costs and induce demand for driving. Residents are also often concerned about parking availability in their neighborhoods. When additional housing is built, how would you balance these concerns? And we'll start with Dr. Cummings, followed by Ms. Kalantari Johnson, and then Ms. Chen Mills. 2 minutes.
One of the things that we need is that we need more transit options, which is why I'm going to use this as an opportunity to make a plug for voting no on Measure D. As we think about, how we can deal with traffic and how we can reduce the cost of housing, we really need to think about, what types of transportation opportunities do we have in our community? The city, back before COVID hit, we had the jump bike program, and that's something that disappeared. And there has been interest in, making a countywide program. And that is something that we absolutely must bring back, because one of the things that we saw was that jump bikes really help people get out of cars and help people get onto environmentally sustainable alternatives to transportation. So that's one. In addition to that, we need to be putting more money towards rail. And I know that although this is something that's going to be voted on by the people, we really need to strongly advocate. And I've been at, many of the No on D events. I've been canvassing for that campaign, because I believe that we need to really focus on having that as a sustainable form of environmental transportation. When we have these forms of transportation around, it allows us to have opportunities to help with developers to reduce the cost for parking, if we can make sure that there are forms of transportation that people can use, not just having a car. In addition to that, one of the things that I feel like has been underutilized and underexplored is working with zip cars, because this is an opportunity where we, rather than people having their own individual car, if new developments can have shared car programs and really focus on providing access to electric cars, that could also incentivize people to not only not own their own car, but have access to an environmentally sustainable form of transportation. And so I would also want to consider, for in lieu parking fees, having that go towards supporting public transit, and also working with the community to explore other options. But I think these are a few ways that we can improve and encourage alternative forms of transportation to get people out of cars, to reduce the cost of parking, and get people into alternative forms of transportation.
Thank you, Ms. Contari Johnson.
I started talking and realized I was still muted. Thank you for the question. So this has to be a holistic approach, and it does include building mixed-use housing along urbanized and transit corridors so that our community members don't have to rely on cars. We have to shift the culture, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of community engagement. There's opportunities here in District 3 to do that, with county working with the city as we're looking at the downtown expansion plan, looking at where the metro fits in. There's ways to incentivize using public transportation. Again, we do this at the city, that we provide bus fare for employees, that we can do that at the county as well. So at the same time that we are making these decisions, we have to make sure that new developments are paying for and helping us support wider sidewalks, protected bike lanes, and other essential infrastructure that will help us shift that culture towards folks wanting to use active transportation rather than being in their cars. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chen Mills.
Thank you so much for the question. To be honest, one of my first thoughts was about equity. Sometimes we envision having like low-income affordable housing, and let's put them on transit heavy corridors. And, on the other hand, people like to be in their cars. And so I want to make sure that whatever we do is equitable, because I don't think it's fair to say that lower income people need to take the bus necessarily. But taking the bus in general would be a great thing. So I'd want to make sure that market rate housing is also looking at this. At the level of the Board of Supervisors, we're looking at projects that sort of stand out in our larger projects for the most part. But I do think that every project that comes to us that is controversial has to be dealt with at the community level in terms of dialogue, and also in a very organic manner in terms of what is the parking situation in that particular neighborhood, and how much can we reduce parking in that particular neighborhood? Or we've been spot zoning for some time now. We just look at the housing element in the general plan and start to zone out for parking minimums across the board, which I think would be a better way of doing this than having to deal with every project and its controversies that come along. And so I think that this will probably be something that we're talking about going forward, is how do we actually rezone the concepts in the general plan around transportation corridors so that they are something that people just need to abide by, rather than every time something comes up, we're having a conflict and we're having a big conversation in the community, which is difficult and very time consuming. I love Justin's ideas too about zip cars and the jump bikes, which I also used when they were available and got me on my bike. Yeah, and I think that we also have to look again at what is the situation in that particular neighborhood if we are doing sort of spot zoning or hearings for particular projects.
Thank you. And just a reminder that YIMBY endorsed no on D. So moving on to the next question. We can't always rely on state government to fund deed restricted affordable housing developments. What local funding solutions would you propose to support building affordable housing? And I'll just also say federal, we can also support federal, so rely on federal. So we'll start with Ms. Contari Johnson, followed by Ms. Mills, and then Dr. Cummings.
So we have to look at what existing resources or opportunities there are. The county is currently proposing a transient occupancy tax on the June ballot. So I would work with my colleagues, I would work with staff to ensure that some of the revenue for this is allocated towards affordable housing. I'd also be interested in supporting and bringing forth a housing bond measure. I was in support of a previous housing bond that we brought forward as a community a few years ago. We can also look at ways of incentivizing affordable housing. For example, making some inclusionary housing units Section 8 housing so that it would allow for affordability of units without lowering the rent for developers and making the project more economically feasible. So those are some of the ways that I would look at local sources of increasing our affordable housing. And I do think we need to push on the federal and state government. I think there's a lot of money out there, and I know that we can't always rely on it, but if we ready ourselves and we create the culture that shows that we're ready and we have the policies in place, then the funding will come. I've learned that as a grant writer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chen Mills.
I've also been talking to my particular housing advisor who helps municipalities raise the funds for housing, low-income housing, affordable housing, permanent supportive housing, and also workforce housing. And a bond measure seems like the most natural thing to do. It's going to take a 2/3 vote to get a bond measure passed to support permanent supportive housing and low-income housing. And so one of the things that I'm hearing from this person and from other people I talk to is that if we can also create something like a targeted sales tax on, for example, sugary drinks or something like this, that people are like, yeah, let's tax that anyway. And Oakland has done this already, and they're raising quite a bit of money from their sugary drinks tax. We can also provide the services that need to go with, for example, permanent supportive housing. And that's very important in terms of tackling the NIMBYism that comes with what we're seeing, around homelessness, and also in terms of permanent supportive housing. We're seeing that with the project on Park Avenue now. And so if you can say to voters and residents of communities, this is going to be a low-income permanent supportive housing project, but we also have these services. We possibly have on-site mental health. We possibly have community policing there as well, which is, I would want it to be different than regular policing, that can sell to the community. Also, workforce housing with legally binding covenants is something that can be funded relatively quickly, because pension funds are always interested in funding something that they can make money on later, but we have to be careful with that because it's a 20 or 30 year deed restricted amount of housing, but it can be more than 20-30%. It can be 50 to 100% affordable or workforce housing or missing middle housing. So also we do have to look at federal and state monies, of course, but those are some of the ideas that I have for local funding for projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings.
Great, thanks. Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I've done as a city council member was worked with staff and Councilmember Brown in particular to increase our inclusionary affordable housing percentage from 15 to 20%. The county, their percentage is currently at 15%, and what I would like to do when elected is increase that affordable housing percentage to 20%. In addition to that, working to also increase, and if possible, increase that further, because one of the things that we know is that Section 8 helps pay market rate rents and subsidizes the cost for low income people. And so to the extent that we can, and we have a list of about over 10,000 people who are waiting to get Section 8 vouchers. That is something that we can do that would be effective at us being able to get low income people off the streets and into supportive housing. And that's something that I want to fight for. But in addition to that, I also want to mention that I've supported the empty home tax, which will be coming to the city, and the county is considering it as well. But I would like to put that on a future ballot for consideration by the county. In addition to the empty home tax, I think about the real estate transfer tax as being a progressive tax option. It would be a one-time tax or fee imposed by the county upon the transfer of real property over a specific value. In this case, we could say that it's property over $1 million, and that real estate transfer tax could go towards production of more affordable housing. I met with Mayor Sam Liccardo recently from San Jose. He mentioned that they do this in San Jose and it's been effective. And so I'd like to see us explore that as well. In terms of additional taxes, housing speculation. So there's currently a bill that's being considered by the state, which would impose a 25% tax on the portion of capital gains from the sale or exchange of residential properties within 3 years of an investor's purchase of the property. And I believe that, we'll see what happens at the state level, but we also have an opportunity for us to explore that here. And I also want to support public banking as a county supervisor. I've been on the group, I've been a part of the group that's been pushing that effort. And what could come out of that is if we get the Central Coast Public Bank, interest earned could help towards going to fund more affordable housing production, and could also help finance projects through the public bank and make programs like Measure J effective in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question, and we're going to start with Ms. Chen Mills on this one. Does approving market rate housing make it easier or harder to build affordable housing? Why or why not?
I'm not sure for me if that's a yes or no question. I think that market rate housing can take up space that affordable housing could be built on. I think that if we have market rate housing, it needs to be mixed in with low income and affordable housing wherever and however possible. I'm concerned that we are so space restricted in this county in terms of the open spaces we've protected that people fiercely defend, and for good reasons. And so my overall thrust, my values, which there are going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces on the board in terms of funding and projects that come along. And so I think my values are important, and my values are to prioritize getting people into permanent supportive housing who are now on the streets and getting them mental health care and the services that they need, as well as low income, very low income and workforce and missing, what's also called missing middle housing. That would be my priority. I know that when you're on the ground in reality, lots of projects are coming up. And so I'd have to go project by project in that case and see what's the best we can do. That's what I'd be looking for, is what is the best we can do. And I'd be hoping to stay in dialogue with people like YIMBY and Santa Cruz Housing Coalition so that we can come, I think we share values, and it's about working together to find solutions, not just one forum and then off we go, right? There's got to be relationships that continue forward.
Thank you. I'm moving on to Dr. Cummings.
Sorry, unmuting. Thank you. So does approving market rate housing make it easier or harder to build affordable housing? My approach is that, and what I believe is that approving market rate housing without maximizing the amount of affordable housing and workforce housing will actually make it difficult to build affordable housing here in Santa Cruz. We know that especially in the city, we know a lot of our land is built out, and we know that there are challenges to building housing, especially big projects in other parts of the county. And we also want to have housing built near city centers because we want to reduce the amount of vehicle miles traveled and put people closer to where they work and where the resources are. So when we think about where we're building housing, we really need to be very conscious about the types of housing that we're creating. We know that many people in Santa Cruz struggle, especially working people, to find affordable housing. And as a result, we need to make sure that as we're building housing, we're maximizing the affordable housing that's going in, and that we're not just overproducing market rate housing. You know, when you have, I looked at 555 Pacific recently to look at what it costs for a studio, and a 400 square foot studio a month is $2,800, which means you have to make 6 figures in order to stay in that kind of housing. And I also remember a couple years back, there was an item that came up around Cypress Point. And one of the things that the housing director had said to me is, well, if you build it, you know, next in 40 years, it'll be affordable housing. Well, this project was built in the 70s. And today the housing there is not affordable because it transfers hands. And when people sell their property, they're oftentimes going to charge and try to make back a profit on that. And so we need to focus on creating deed restricted affordable housing. We need to increase the county's inclusionary percentage. And we need to make sure that even when projects receive density bonuses, that they're also they're also producing the maximum amount of affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kalantari Johnson.
Thank you. I'd have to disagree with my colleague here. We funded Metro North and Metro South projects using in lieu fees for market rate housing. And I believe we do need an array of housing for all people in this community. You know, if you tell a family of 4, let's say each parent makes $60,000. So a total of $120,000 a year for this family of 4. We're talking about a middle-class family that they can't live here because they are making too much money. We're excluding that family of 4. And that's what our past policies have done. And that's why we find ourselves where we're at. I think, you know, it's economics, supply and demand. If we increase our housing stock, we will decrease our housing costs and we will house more people.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next question. The 2838 Park Avenue Homekey project is facing major neighborhood pushback. How would you respond to the criticism if the project were in your district? Where would you locate additional supportive housing in District 3? And we'll start with Dr. Cummings.
Great, thank you. Well, I was reflecting back on something that I saw in the newspaper, which was, you know, one of the criticisms that Manu Koenig got was that he said he knew very little about the project's details until just before the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors was set to vote on it. And then the board unanimously approved it on January 23rd. For me, that's a problem. As an elected official, it's our responsibility to be on top of the various projects in our community and what stages they're at. If there's a chance that community members are going to be upset, it's up to us and it's our responsibility to contact people in the community that are near these projects and communicate with them so that we can hear their concerns and address those concerns before decisions are made. That's how you increase transparency and that's how you build trust within the community. And I'll just say that when I was mayor, when we went to stand up the Armory as a homeless shelter, the first thing that we did was meet with neighbors in Prospect Heights. We heard their concerns. We made sure that we addressed their concerns in our plans. And since we've opened the Armory back in 2020, we have not received a single complaint. And that's what I want to bring to the county supervisor, the experience of working with the community to address their concerns and stand up programs and projects that fit within the community's interest. And so where would I like to locate new supportive housing? Well, if this is to be supportive for example, mental and behavioral health, I think I would like to see it in the downtown or close to services, close to transportation. And that's why I also believe that, you know, when we're thinking about development, we have to be very mindful of where development goes, because we absolutely need to make sure that we are allowing there to be developable space for these types of projects that our community wants and needs, and ensuring that, you know, we're not just approving every single project as it comes up, because we really need to try to be strategic as we're planning to make sure that we have the correct housing located in the right places. We don't want to have, you know, housing for mental or behavioral supportive housing in very far parts of the county where there isn't access to resources or transportation. We need to make sure we're being mindful about where that housing goes. And that's why I hope to work with the community on as county supervisor.
Thank you. Ms. Kalantari Johnson.
Thanks for the question. This is work that I have done in the community through my community organizing work. I've worked on housing projects that have gotten neighborhood pushback, specifically peer support housing for individuals with mental health challenges. as well as youth homelessness services and shelters. Specifically when COVID hit and we were as a state mandated to have shelter in place sites for unhoused community members, I was asked to join the emergency response team for the county and worked with neighborhood groups, with county, with nonprofit to ensure that youth had a safe place to stay. We were donated some RVs and we were able to locate a site, and it took a lot of work and it took a lot of community engagement. So I have the experience and I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Cummings, that it does start with building trust and engaging the community, making sure the community knows about the project, making sure the community knows that this is an asset, that this is value added to the neighborhood, that these individuals bring in their own skills to the community and work together. For example, with the youth homeless demonstration, COVID shelters, we work with the neighborhood groups and found ways for the neighborhood to volunteer and vice versa. So building community trust, and then in terms of where to locate it, working with community groups, with nonprofits, with my colleagues to ensure that wherever we locate it, there's community readiness, there's community capacity building, and that the locations are at a minimum connected to transportation, if not other services and resources.
Thank you. Ms. Chen Mills.
I think community dialogue is incredibly important, and also helping the community understand what supportive housing is and what it looks like, possibly even taking residents of the community who might be opposed to go see successful permanent supportive housing projects. And part of my role on the City Advisory Committee on Homelessness was to engage in public dialogue. And we did that, inviting people in to talk about the solutions that they had in mind, and not just the problems that they were upset about, let's say, for example. The other thing we did was we had a 2-day Wisdom Council pilot project where people came in from all over the community to talk about solutions to homelessness. And these were people on very different sides of the debate and dialogue, a very diverse group of individuals, from providers to people who are part of West Side Neighbors, for example. And I think we need more of that. I'm concerned that my opponent, Chebra, who's on the council majority, has been, as far as I'm concerned, riding the wave of a kind of NIMBYism on the west side of Santa Cruz. And I'm not sure how that equates with having dialogues with all the groups that are involved. And that's what I would like to see. In terms of placement, I mean, I've heard Justin also talk about placing in Davenport at the cement plant. The Armory is not connected to transportation. So I'm thinking that I'm not opposed to those sites, but I'm also thinking that we are very limited in terms of siting. The places that I can think of right now in terms of siting are at the Ocean Street County Complex, where there's space in the parking lot and also sort of adjacent to the parking lot. And there's space also at the Encino County Complex as well. And those are just two of the sites. You have another question about siting, and we can get to that later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there's a part 2 to this question. A Homekey project like 2838 Park Avenue has ministerial approval. Is streamlined approval of these types of projects a good policy? Yes or no? And because this is a quick question, we started with Dr. Cummings, so we'll start with him again on this one, and then we'll go around.
Great. So, I believe that, so first off, I guess my answer is no to this one. I think that local governments and people in the community need to have an understanding of what's being built in their communities and need to have an opportunity to weigh in on the developments. There are many factors and issues that need to be taken into account, and developers and local governments need to be held accountable for addressing potential impacts to neighborhoods and the surrounding environment, and taking into account the concerns of the local citizens. That isn't to say we should stop these projects from moving forward, but it does mean that we need to do more community engagement, and electeds need to be out in the community, working with community members to get the community on board with these kinds of projects and not allow state government to just push projects down communities' throats. We need to make sure that these housing, this type of housing meets objective environmental standards, and we need to plan strategically so we're building housing that we need and are taking into account the impacts that that housing has on the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Contari Johnson.
I'm in support of streamlining affordable housing projects, and I think we need to build community readiness, because otherwise it can backfire and we can find ourselves in battles. So.
Okay, Ms. Chen Mills.
I can't say yes or no on this one. I think, I understand why ministerial approval is happening. I understand that we are in a housing crisis. I also think we're in an affordability crisis. I think we need to look at that as well. Do we need to look at rent control? Do we need to look at other issues that affect our affordability and not just always building more housing, building more housing? I know that we also need to build more housing, and that's very important. I'm also concerned about, species. We're losing 200 to 250 species per day now, and I'm at time. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. And we'll start with Ms. Contari Johnson on this one. Other than permanent supportive housing, where can the county improve most in its response to homelessness? So we'll start with Ms. Contari Johnson, then Ms. Mills, Chen Mills, then Dr. Cummings.
Impossible to respond in 2 minutes, but I'll try. We have an extreme unmet mental health and substance use need in our community. And that is what we see in terms of our street homelessness. A lot of people who are living on our streets are suffering from mental health and substance use. That has to be a priority. It's not that our county isn't working hard enough. It's that there's these system gaps that are perpetuated from policies that have been passed at the state level, and county, local communities have not been built and given the capacity and resources to address them. So that's one piece. The other is we need to work upstream. 30% of our last 2019 point in time count showed that our unhoused population was youth under the age of 24 who are unaccompanied. So 30% of our homeless count were youth under the age of 24 who are unaccompanied. And a lot of them are coming out of our child welfare system. So again, failure in our system. So working upstream, working with young people, getting them connected before they end up down the line and chronically homeless. Of course, the other piece that is missing that the city is working with the county to address is what happens in between. What happens in between to those folks who aren't in a let's say residential treatment facility and don't have permanent housing. They're living on the streets. So increasing our transitional shelters and increasing our safe spaces and connecting that to our coordinated entry system to make sure that folks are on a pathway to permanent housing or permanent supportive housing.
Ms. Chen Mills.
Well, I think I need to address what the majority on the council, including Shebra, is putting forward at this time, including camping ordinances and further penalties on people sleeping in their cars and RVs. When I was on the catch, we didn't recommend either of these things. That was not in any of our recommendations. And I've heard several times from the council that this is what we recommended. I don't know if that's intentional or not, or if it's just because it's part of the package supposedly of safe parking, but I think we need to offer services first. And we need to make sure that we are offering enough services to feel good about moving people when we do move people. I don't think we're doing that. I think people are just getting moved from here to there. And then we point to the benchlands and say, how awful. Well, guess what? We just cleared out Hell's Trail to move people to the benchlands. So now there's 300, 400 people at the benchlands. So I take some issue with this. I think we need to really move towards services and best practices, which makes sense for people who are homeless, which is not having them move everything at 8 a.m. in the morning and go to wander out in the streets again. I'm not sure if I have a minute or 30 seconds, but anyway, I'm going to keep going. One of the other issues that I think we have is people don't trust the point in time count, because I have talked to so many voters and said 70% of people who are homeless here became homeless here. And that's related to our housing and affordability crises, actually. And people don't realize that. So, and then they'll say, well, I don't believe it. I've even heard city officials say, I don't believe the point in time count. So what we need to do is work with the county to really track every homeless individual that we can find and make sure we know where are they coming from, what do they need, you know, what are the services we can provide, and be able to educate the community about the nature of our homeless community, because it's very diverse, it's very varied, and we get this sort of response and reaction from people that is like it's all the same, you know, and that's really that's a problem for me, and we need to help to educate people about that.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings.
And well, there's a few things I'd like to bring up. One, the expansion of case management and mental and behavioral health crisis response is something that I think we really need in our county. I'm currently working with County Supervisor Zach Friend as a member of the Criminal Justice Council to develop a survey for both law enforcement and mental health outreach workers to assess the effectiveness of these kinds of programs where behavioral health workers go out with law enforcement and address those calls. And then also seeing how many calls for service are actually for mental and behavioral health. I'm very much in favor of a 24/7 non-law enforcement alternative emergency crisis response program. But I feel like these surveys will help us gauge whether or not behavioral health workers feel safe in those environments, and will also help us as we're developing these programs, because we need to make sure that we do this right. I'm also in favor of expanding the current program that we have as we build out a 24/7 non-law enforcement emergency crisis response program, which is a pairing of mental health workers with police officers who respond to these calls for service. Here in the city of Santa Cruz, there's only 2 workers who fill that role. And I believe that we need to expand these programs so that we have behavioral health workers answering these calls when there are nonviolent crimes in progress. We also need to target the various needs of the populations of people who are experiencing homelessness. There are a lot of people in our community who, yes, have substance abuse issues and behavioral health issues, but there are also people who are working homeless. There are people who are living out of their cars because they can't afford the rent, or they can't afford, you know, $1,000 for first month, $1,000 for last month, and security deposit. When you have to come up with thousands of dollars just to move into a place, it makes it very cost prohibitive, even if you can afford the rent. So we need programs and services that target the needs of specific populations and helps get people into housing, get them connected to services, get them connected to jobs, and get them so that they're stable in our community and out of homelessness.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, which is actually my favorite question. Where you live determines education opportunities and health outcomes. How will you ensure that people of color have access to the best schools and stable neighborhoods in our county? And we'll start with Ms. Chen Mills.
I just want to note really quickly, in case people are wondering, that the new 988 service looks like it's going to be mobile response teams, hopefully 24/7, if that legislation passes at the state level. So that might be a done deal, and that would be, in my mind, pretty cool. In terms of education opportunities and health outcomes for people of color, I mean, I've talked to people with Zenon, for example, with the UC Student Housing Coalition, and I really like the ideas of really diversifying our neighborhoods. I think it's a great idea, and we have state laws that probably will start to do that. SB 9, for example, where you can divide up parcels into 2 parcels and have up to 4 units. And I mean, we've got a lot of state legislation coming down the pike. Not all of it I'm thrilled about, but these things are going to start to happen. I do support these ideas of bringing multifamily zoning to neighborhoods where it's typically been single family zoned. And I think we just need to spread everything out and around. I have, you know, one concern about being the District 3 supervisor. You know, we can talk to the city, but the city is still going to be in charge of the city. And that's a huge part of the district, actually. It's huge, like 80% of the district. And yet as a supervisor, you don't vote on these projects. So we need to look also at outside of the city, what can we do? And that'd be something I'd be happy to engage with you all in conversation about.
Thank you. Dr. Cummings.
Thank you. I want to start. I have put 2 links in the chats to 2 of the nonprofits that I've created here in the city of Santa Cruz at UC Santa Cruz. First is the Doors to Conservation Scholars Program, which seeks to increase diversity in environmental conservation. And the second is the Citrus Initiative for Drone Education and Research, which aims to increase diversity in the field of tech. The number one thing that will help people of color have access to the best schools and stable neighborhoods is ensuring that they have access to good, high-paying jobs. I've been doing this professionally since 2015, where we have been paying students to participate in experiential learning opportunities so that they can get the experience that they need so they're competitive for good paying jobs. One of the students that just came through our the CIDER program, it's an acronym for Citrus Initiative, actually just got his FAA Part 107 commercial pilot's license and we helped him land a job with Skydio, where his starting salary coming out of college is $95,000. Those are the ways that we can get people of color into stable housing, is by connecting them with industry, educational opportunities, and so that we can prepare them for good paying jobs. One of the things that I would hope to do is create a cradle to career initiative. I know we have Thrive by 3, but I think we can do more, where we can work with the County Office of Education, city schools, UCSC, Cabrillo, local unions, local nonprofits, and industry to identify the emerging needs so that we can be preparing young people in our community for careers in meaningful and well-paying jobs. I also believe that we should move forward with a diversity certified business initiative. We have green certified businesses, and I think one of the things that we should also do is have a diversity certificate for businesses, where if the diversity is at or exceeds the local diversity within our community, that we would highlight those businesses. And also if the diversity in their leadership is reflected, to look to match or exceed the diversity we see in our community, incentivizing those businesses and being able to highlight those businesses and encourage partnerships with those businesses to provide incentives. And so those are a few of the ways that I'd like to work on increasing wealth in the communities of color.
Thank you. Ms. Kalantari Johnson.
Thank you. I think one of the steps we can take locally is affirmatively furthering fair housing. And we can do that. We have the opportunity to do that through our housing element revise. So as we're looking at our housing element revise and looking at specifically at that section of affirmatively furthering fair housing, we can look at zoning of high resource areas. We can look at supporting tenant protections for development projects that include existing renters. We can look at expanding, the counties currently has a home ownership program, but we can look at expanding the existing home ownership program to ensure that historically excluded groups are included. And I think, it takes us reaching out to individuals and organizations that represent lower income households and people in protected classes and households with special needs to develop open communication and co-create our responses. Understanding what the burdens are, doing what we can to relieve those burdens, for example, childcare, after school camps, workforce development. So these are all things that we need to look at, talking to the community members and asking them what the burdens are and making policy solutions, putting forward policy solutions and programs and investing in programs that would relieve these burdens. And I'll just say really quickly, I supported the Children's Fund, which does just that. It takes 20% of cannabis revenues and puts it towards scholarships for low-income children to participate in after-school programs and camps. And it also supports the Thrive by 3 program. And we do have a Cradle to Career initiative that was based in Live Oak, but is now expanded to the whole county. And the cannabis revenues also support those initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to our last question before we go to closing remarks. As of 2021, Santa Cruz County has permitted 740 of the 1,314 units we are required to produce between 2015 and 2023. We are on pace to miss this goal by 30%. What do you see as the greatest opportunity in the upcoming housing element process for the county? What are your concerns regarding the process? And what are the barriers to development in the county, and what would you do about them? It's a lot to answer in 2 minutes, but let's try. So let's start with Dr. Cummings.
I think, this is an opportunity for us to take into account and start thinking about, where are there opportunities to have more mixed use development within our county, so that we are creating not only the affordable housing that we need and the housing that we need, but we're also creating communities where people can get what they need very close to where they live. I think about the different communities I've lived in here in Santa Cruz, and the Upper West Side, for example, it's very difficult to have access to grocery stores. It's pretty much a food desert, and I know many students suffer from that living up on campus. And then I've also lived in neighborhoods like Seabright, where you can walk to almost anything you need, whether it's going to see a local band, going to get groceries. You can get to transit stops very easily. And so as we're thinking about our housing element, and as we're thinking about how we're going to prepare for future housing, we really need to start thinking about how we can make our communities more livable and walkable places. We also need to think about zoning around a rail. I think that we need to do whatever we can to protect our rail. But as we do that, we need to also start thinking about how we can zone so that the rail will be an effective form of transportation. That means it's likely going to result in increasing zoning around the rail so that we have populations of people who will need to utilize that as a form of transportation. And I think that that is going to be controversial, but I think that it's something that we need to really start talking about so that we have green, sustainable, environmentally sustainable transportation and housing close next to that. I also know that for the 3rd district developing in Davenport, there's interest in putting affordable housing up at the Cemex plant. And having met with residents, there is interest in supporting those efforts. There is some pushback from the Coastal Commission, which is one of the things I've heard, and that would be a barrier to producing more affordable housing in that community. But I think that it's up to us as elected officials to have those conversations, to bring forward the community needs and try to work with other agencies to make affordable housing happen in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Kalantari-Johnson.
So there is intersectionality between housing, infrastructure, transportation, and there is a great opportunity right now for us to move in this direction. We have a new CEO for our Metro board, which, for our Metro district, which I sit on the board of. We will be looking at a strategic planning process. And as I mentioned, we have the revise of our housing element. So there's a lot of opportunity here for us to think outside the box, work with different systems, and plan differently. Specific to the housing element, we can look at best practices and not from other communities that have increased housing stock. Other communities have tried this out. Some examples are exploring revising our minimum parking requirements, which we've talked about already today, exploring creative approaches to incentivizing higher density residential development or smaller units without some or slightly larger building volume. This is similar to what the city has done around the flexible density units, which my opponent, Councilmember Cummings, opposed. Considering administrative approval of 100% affordable housing residential development, and considering policy changes and updates to square footage or development standards that can incentivize and promote ADU production. So those are just some best practices that other communities have put in place. So exploring those with the community, engaging the community as we are revising our housing element. And I'll just say that we have very outdated policies. We have a planning department that has been entrenched in these outdated policies. And there is a need for, I'll just say it, there's a need for reform so that we can actually meet the housing needs of our community.
Thank you, Ms. Chen Mills.
Well, I just wanted to tag on what Justin was saying about diversifying, jobs and creating better paying jobs for people of color in the county. We could also start with county administration, would be one area that I would like to look at, because I have talked to so many wonderful people in administration in the county now, and they've mostly been 90% white men. So I'm just gonna put that out there. As for the question, my understanding is that the word corridors was taken out of the general plan 5 years ago, and yet there are specific corridors that we need to be building along, and we have not zoned for infill development on those corridors, and that's what we need to do. We don't need to wait actually for a process, this every 8-year process in terms of looking at the general plan. We can start to do that as a board of supervisors now, and it's something that we need to do right away, because This takes a long, long time. This is a multi-year process of trying to zone for infill development along transportation corridors. And so that's what I'd be interested in doing, is sort of rezoning so that we have blanket rules about what can be built there. And that way we don't have these projects that come up and all of a sudden everyone's having a big debate about it. It's already been zoned for infill and mixed use development along the corridors. There are bike lanes along the corridors. There are bike lanes being planned, separated bike lanes along corridors on SoCal Avenue and Upper 17th between the hospital and 41st. So we just really need to look at the zoning and rezone and do planning rather than reacting. And I think that's really what the planning department should be doing and working with the Board of Supervisors to do. And let's see, what else is there? I've got 30 seconds. I got to fill it up. Yeah, I mean, I support infill and increased density in neighborhoods. I love the Seabright neighborhood. I was just canvassing in the Seabright neighborhood, and there's so many, especially on one side of the tracks, right? There's a lot of apartments mixed in with homes, and they're all really clustered together. And there's transportation, as Justin said, and that's sort of my model for what I would like to see more of, and also more affordable housing.
Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to go over time while we give our candidates time for closing remarks and some final housekeeping items. So we'll start with closing remarks with Ms. Kalantari Johnson. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight, and thank you for the work that you do to create housing and advocate for housing in our community. I want to briefly just touch on homelessness. I've worked on the issue of homelessness for decades. I worked in San Francisco's Tenderloin. I've worked here in this community. I brought in millions of dollars to address it. What we've been doing has not been working. My opponents have supported keeping unmanaged encampments open, including the Ross camp, where several people have died. We need to try something different, and that's what I put forward on the city council, and that's what I'll continue to push for as a supervisor, getting folks off the streets and into safe spaces. I have had 2 decades in the public health field, and I've advocated for social change, and I've been effective. My entry point has been a lot of different places, including a mom in this community. This has been my home. It'll continue to be my home, and I'll continue to do the work. So you can count on me. You can count on me to show up. You can count on me to work on issues that matter to us. You can count on me to reach out to you, as I have been doing as a council member. When there's housing projects that are contentious, that I can't wrap my head around, I come to you. I've come to members of Santa Cruz YIMBY. When we're about to embark on a big effort, housing element revised, I come to you. I talk to Santa Cruz YIMBY. So you can count on me to do that and reach to other sectors, non-traditional partners, to create solutions. I'll just end by saying that I have the endorsement of many diverse leaders in our community, including Supervisor Ryan Coonerty, our current district supervisor, our former District 3 Supervisor Neil Coonerty, our current Mayor Sonia Bruner, our former Mayor and Housing Advocate Don Lane, Housing Advocate Sibley Simon, Smart Local 23 bus drivers, Democratic Moments Club, and many more. And I hope you'll support me, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in whatever capacity and role I serve here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chen Mills.
Well, I just want to start by saying that I think that's a bit disingenuous to say that my opponents support unmanaged encampments. My view of unmanaged encampments, no one supports unmanaged encampments. Unmanaged encampments and camping are homelessness. No one supports homelessness. No one. So that's what I'd like to see are services. What I'd like to see are, peer managed and county city staff managed encampments, tiny home facilities that we could set up with gardening and productive sort of activities for people to do. I mean, no one supports that. It's just that people are trying to help people who live there, and what I know about homelessness and mental health, because I have also worked in homelessness quite a bit. I worked at the MH Can on Cayuga with Sarah Leonard, who is one of my endorsers, who runs a peer support program, drop-in program on Cayuga. I trained staff at one of the largest homeless shelters in San Francisco, and I worked with populations that both were homeless and were teetering on homeless, in the jails, juvenile hall, all these populations, what I know is that people need stability and a sense of security to start to get themselves together. And when we're just moving them around, that's not helping. And when we tell them that they have to take their whole tent and pack it up at 8 o'clock in the morning and not put it down again until 5 p.m., how is that helping people feel like they have the space and time to think about what to do next? It's not. So that's my position. And I just want to be clear about that, because these people do not normally get on these forums. And they need to be represented, you know, in some fashion. You know, I'm opposed to crime, I'm opposed to violence, I'm opposed to drug dealing, all of those things. And we need to work with police on community policing and mental health outreach to address those issues. But what I see is just, let's just move everybody out. We'll set up the sleeping sites so that we can move everybody out, but we don't have enough sleeping sites at this time. So I think we just need to move forward on the sleeping sites, and then we'll talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Cummings.
Great. Well, thank you all for having me. This is my last year on the Santa Cruz City Council. I've served 4 years, including 1 year as mayor. And I've also served on other commissions and agencies, over 22, but in particular, I've served 4 years on LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, which deals with land use, and served as vice chair and chair, and 4 years on the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, which deals with transportation and housing. I've helped stand up more homeless services in the history of the city of Santa Cruz when I was mayor. And I've consistently voted for eviction protections and for tenant protections here in the city of Santa Cruz. As a renter and working professional, I'm compelled to run because we need progressive leaders who will push for progressive taxation and progressive housing policies, and will push for programs that maximize affordable housing that meets the needs of our community. In 2018, I was one of the highest signature gatherers to get rent control put on the ballot, because we need to explore solutions to stabilize people in housing and stabilize their rents. As a candidate, I've been endorsed by many elected leaders and many community groups. Fred Keeley, former Speaker Pro Tem of the California State Assembly, Greg Caput, Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisor, District 4, Luis Alejo, former California State Assembly member of the 30th District, former Watsonville Mayor and Monterey County Board of Supervisors, former 3rd District Supervisor Gary Patton, Felipe Hernandez, who's also a candidate for county supervisor, but is a former mayor and a Cabrillo College governing board trustee, current mayor of Santa Cruz, Sonia Bruner, Sandy Brown, current council member, Kristen Peterson, former mayor Capitola, Paco Estrada, former mayor of Watsonville, and many, many other electeds. But I want to say some of the organizations. I've been endorsed by the California Nurses Association, the National Union of Healthcare Workers, SCIU United Healthcare Workers West, SCIU 521, Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, Monterey and Santa Cruz County Building Construction Trades, Carpenters 505, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Sheet Metal Workers Local 104, Operating Engineers Local 3, Showing Up for Racial Justice Santa Cruz, Equity Transit, Pajaro Valley Cesar Chavez Democratic Club, and the UCSC College Democrats. And this is because people have the confidence in me as a leader, and I believe that I will make a wonderful and fantastic county supervisor who will fight for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Following this meeting, we will have a 30-minute members only discussion to discuss, you know, our this conversation we had this last hour. Please note that we will have our endorsement vote next week. So just wanted to alert folks about that. And remember, tomorrow we have a YIMBY Housers Happy Hour in Abbott Square. So please join us if you can. It is part of Affordable Housing Month, which we would love to see all of our candidates participate in. And you know, if you join us tomorrow during our happy hour, we can continue having this conversation about housing and talk about some questions we were not able to ask tonight. And I wanted to share with everyone the link to other events happening during Affordable Housing Month on housingSantaCruzCounty.com. And I hope you can join us. So thank you all for your time.
What time is the event tomorrow?
5:30. Sorry, forgot to mention that. 5:30. We'd love to see you all there, including our candidates.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.